Hey, what's up guys? My name is Emiliano. Today I'll be showing you guys how I built muscle at home and how I went from a physique like this to a physique like this in about a year and a half transformation. This video is mainly for all my gym beginners that are just looking to get into the gym, but for whatever reason, maybe you don't want to commute, you don't want to spend the time, you don't want to spend the money to get a gym membership, and that's totally fine. It's a perfect way to start, get the momentum going until you can go to the gym. Quick disclaimer, I do always advise that if you do have that opportunity, that you are able to go to the gym, I highly recommend you doing that. That is what I did after about a year and a half of training. I decided to physically go to a gym. Why? Because it just facilitates so many aspects of lifting, whether it's progressive overload, the availability of different machines, being able to hit each muscle through different angles, which all play a role in how your physique develops over time. But anyways, let's just get right into it, guys. If you're just looking to get into the gym right now, and you have minimal to no equipment, I always recommend that even if you're working out at home, you can literally go to Walmart, buy a pair of dumbbells. Because the main principle, the main thing that you want to focus on when it comes to lifting, even if it's at home, you're just doing calisthenics, is progressive overload, which is exactly what I meant by how going to the gym is so much more facilitated because you have the ability to just add weights to each exercise with ease. When it comes to doing calisthenics or home workouts, that can be a little bit tricky. If you're truly serious about this, I would highly recommend you buy at least a pair of dumbbells with a little bit of weight that you can progressively overload with, and a dip belt. That one's going to be very, very helpful, especially for compound exercises. But what do we want to focus on if you're just starting the gym? Number one is going to be your workout split, and then number two, like I said, is going to be progressive overload. If you don't know what a workout split is, it is simply the frequency and the pattern in which you hit every muscle per week. So I'll give you an example. You might oftentimes hear the bro split, push-pull leg split, or upper lower body split. Those are very common splits, which a lot of people will recommend. And you might hear, no, this one's the best, this one that. I highly do not recommend. I'd like to be completely straight to the point, like no BS. Like the best workout split, it's not whatever you hear online. It's whatever works best for you and your schedule and your time frame. For example, some people, if you're a busy worker that works from home, for example, like myself, I go to the gym physically, but I prefer what they call an Arnold split, or similar to an Arnold split. I hit legs on Monday, chest and back together on Tuesday, and then shoulders and arms together on Wednesday. And I repeat that. So it's essentially a 6-day split, and I rest one day out of the week. Some people don't have that ability, or they just doesn't work with their schedule. So instead of doing that, maybe just go for an upper lower body split or a full body split 3 times a week. That also works. But main thing that you want to focus on, make sure whatever split that you choose, doesn't matter, is that you're hitting each muscle group at least twice per week. That is the most optimal for muscle growth, and that is what has been shown to be the most beneficial. But anyways, regardless of what split that you choose, whether it is upper lower, full body, whatever works best with your schedule. If you can only work out 4 days a week, maybe I would recommend the upper lower body split. If you can only work out 3 days, I would do a full body day, then an upper body day, then a lower body day, then repeat. You just arrange it however works for you. But what's most important is not the split. It is simply progressive overload. That's the second thing. However, what are you actually progressively overloading? Progressive overload is simply the fact of adding more weight to the muscle or adding more stress over time. And that's essentially the way that a muscle grows. Whenever you're first getting into the gym, doing just push-ups, pull-ups, whatever it is, it's oftentimes going to be already progressive overload because your body has never worked out before. So any kind of stimulus is already going to send the signal to your body that it needs to grow. Whether it is you need to grow your chest, your shoulders, biceps, triceps, traps, back, whatever. So any kind of stimulus is going to work. However, what are the specific exercises that you might want to do? So let's say, for example, you're going for an upper lower body split, right? That's probably going to be what fits best for busy people if you're just looking to get into the gym or you're just starting off. I'll give you an example. When it comes to upper lower, you're still going to be hitting, like I said, you always want to focus, no matter what split it is, focus on hitting each muscle group twice per week. So an example of an upper body day, let's say you start the week off on a Tuesday, doesn't really matter if you start on a Monday, as long as you're actually hitting each muscle group twice per week and giving each muscle at least 48 hours in between before hitting it again. So 40 hours of recovery. So you don't want to hit, one muscle on Monday and then hit that same muscle on Tuesday. You at least want to wait until Wednesday. But anyways, so an example of an upper body day would be your compound movements and accessory movements, right? You want to do both. Now, depending on how much time you actually want to invest, I would say the easiest way for you to actually genuinely start, if you're doing, let's say, an upper lower body split, for example, in an upper body day, the exercises that you would typically do, or that I would recommend, this is what I started with, and this is the easiest way to start, is just by doing your traditional pull-ups, your dips. Those are going to be your 2 compound exercises. You want to do those, and you want to always have those as your compound movements, which you do on both days. Why? Because even though I'm telling you to switch up the variation of exercises, you still always want to have a few exercises which you don't change, because that is how you're able to measure if you're getting stronger or not. If you switch up the exercises or you switch up the variables, it's going to be very hard to measure that. So that's why I recommend you get something like a dip belt or something that you can progressively overload with. When it comes to reps or sets, don't overcomplicate that. Just stick to a 3-set, 8 to 12 rep range for each exercise, right? So let's say, for example, an example of progressively overloading of a genuine, simple, and actual workout that's going to be effective is, let's say on Monday you do both your pull-ups and your dips, and you can only do weighted, or you can only do your own body weight, right? You can do 10 dips and do it with strict form, and you can only do 10 pull-ups. On that next upper body day, 48 hours after you're rested, you want to aim to shoot for 12 reps. You want to add a rep or two, but you want to keep most variables the same. You want to keep strict form. You don't want to cheat just to get that extra rep. And then once you can do an exercise, a set of that exercise for 12 reps with ease, then you want to progressively overload. And if you're getting stronger, of course, if you add more weight, you're not going to be able to do 12 reps. So you're going to start again at around 6, maybe 8 reps, and you work your way up, and the cycle repeats. That is essentially what progressive overload is. So those 2 would be your main compound exercises on an upper body day. What about accessories? Well, do lateral raises. For that, you're going to want to use dumbbells if you have that. Or if you simply just don't, or you can't afford dumbbells, you can grab a backpack and progressively overload with that. But of course, you want to make sure that you're putting the same stimulus on each muscle. So if you're going to do that, you want to do 1 set at a time with the exact same backpack, and maybe add some books, add whatever you want just to add weight, and you can progressively get stronger like that. So it's going to be pull-ups, dips, lateral raises, decline push-ups for that upper chest, some kind of tricep extension, some kind of bicep curl, whether that is concentration curls or regular bicep curls with dumbbells or with a backpack. And when it comes to back, not only are you doing your pull-ups, but you also want to implement some kind of rowing movement. That's what you want to focus on. Always having some kind of vertical push, vertical pull, as well as a horizontal push and a horizontal pull. So essentially your horizontal push would be something like a push-up, so you want to implement that into that routine as well. Also, guys, I forgot to mention it, but a vertical pushing movement, which if you're up for it, I learned to do the handstand push-up, but of course that's more of an advanced calisthenics skill, so just start with something like a pike push-up. But yeah, like I said, focus on those compound movements: vertical pushing, vertical pulling, horizontal pushing, horizontal pulling, and then add your accessories from there. Vertical pull would be your pull-ups. Horizontal row is going to be some kind of bent over row, which you can usually do with some dumbbells, or you can do an inverted row if you simply don't have that. But yeah, that's typically all that you would need in order to start building the foundation to a good physique from home with very minimal equipment. An example for leg day would be some kind of squat that you can progressively overload. Since most of the time it's very hard to find enough weight for your leg muscles because of course they're stronger, I would recommend, instead of doing a squat, if you can, do some kind of Bulgarian split squat. Why? Because you're working each leg one at a time. So if you put the same stress, or you're using the same weight, it's essentially gonna be easier for you to progressively overload there. But yeah, when it comes to legs, you want to hit the main muscle groups, which is gonna be the hamstrings, the quads, the glutes, and your calves. Mainly focus on those big muscle groups, which are usually worked in compound movements, like that Bulgarian split squat. That's gonna work your glutes, your quads mainly, right? That's already gonna be hitting both of those. But that's the thing. That's the beauty about calisthenics and home workouts, right? And that's the beauty of bodybuilding as a whole. As you go on, you're gonna notice that you're gonna have weak points, you're gonna have strong points, and you just wanna adjust according to that. But always remember those two principles: your workout split and progressively overloading. That's how you know that you're actually progressing, you're getting stronger, and that you're genuinely, as long as you stay consistent, you're actually growing and getting bigger. But yeah, regardless of what workout split that you want to choose, it might seem and sound very complicated, but just like I said, even if you're overwhelmed, just get started with the example that I give you right now. Those exercises, that's going to be more than enough to get started. When it comes to nutrition and recovery, I don't want to speak too much about that here, although it is very, very important. But I do have other videos that you can check out for my busy people that don't know exactly how many calories to eat, what kind of foods to eat, protein, that kind of thing. Yeah, when it comes to movement, I always recommend getting 7 to 10,000 steps per day. If you can't track it, you don't have some kind of device that can track it for you, you can always use your phone with the health app. It's also pretty accurate. But yeah, you want to do that just to make sure that your body's overall getting good movement. If your cardio is better, your workouts are also going to be better. You're going to perform better. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you found this video helpful at all, just leave a like, leave a comment. If I missed something that is very important, or maybe you have a big doubt about, just leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.